about that a couple mistakes I made in our last video. I wanted to just make those corrections on air, so I'll make sure
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for
correct,
sure.
yeah, correct my faux pas.
All right, everybody. I got the big homie. I got the OG. Hip hop historian, Strong Arm Steady Cruz. Will Blast is back to educate us
For
again, once
sure,
again.
for
How you
sure.
doing?
All this love, brother. Appreciate you for having me on. You know what I mean?
Always,
Love
I
to
would
do it.
like
Love to do it. Yep,
always,
love to do it.
always, and I wish everybody in the chat please wish Mr. Will Blast a happy solar return, happy born day, whatever term you guys use, another trip around the sun. This is his week. Please show him
Yep.
love and all that good stuff.
On Thursday for sure, but yeah, today, any day this week for sure. Happy birthday! I truly appreciate him for sure. Still here, cracking.
Okay, let me start off the breakdancing.
Again, like I said, like again that Last Supper shit, that just destroyed any. I watched some of the sprints. I see Shakari winning. I
Yeah.
wanted to check out Simone Biles. I check out people that I like and I think they're super talented. Noah Lyles and those guys. So I check out a few things, but nah, I was turned off once they did the Last Supper shit. You know what I mean? Like I was like, they taking this somewhere else that I wasn't trying to grow. Having Snoop there, like they were saying, like the torch looked like a big joint instead of a torch, and
Yeah.
so like it all seems like they're trolling us on a lot of levels with a lot of the shit they're doing. I know the Asians are big with the breakdancing and stuff now and everything, so it's cool. But they're about 40 years too late on it, as far as I'm concerned. That seems to have passed us by for the most part. But if they're into it, man, if they like it, I love it. Let it go.
Well, let me ask you: is this like the nail in the coffin as far as blacks having any claim to anything hip hop related? Because now I know Tariq dropped the his documentary, but then to juxtapose that with the Japanese woman winning the first gold medal for breakdancing, it's like at this point, do we still keep fighting for relevancy as far as who created what? Does it even matter at this point?
Yeah, it's we have to document these things. That's what like I'm not a huge Tariq Nasheed fan like that, but he does document things and gives people a chance to have dialogue on these subjects. So I appreciate the effort that he puts forth. Um, but okay, let's take it back at the end of the day, brother. 1978. It's a rock group. They were mod, but they were still at the end of their rock group. They're called Blondie. They're
Mm-hmm.
led by a white woman who everybody thought was Blondie, but the group is actually Blondie. You know what I mean? She was just the lead singer. But in relation to hip hop, they are credited actually as the groundbreakers of rap music. When you really talk about more, Sugar Hill gets the credit for an album, but they put out the first rap song
Okay.
technically.
Right.
And so, when you're being historically correct, I mean, do we really look at it that way? No way. We know that a record company was hearing rap on the street, decided to, get a track and have them do it to try to, get ahead of the game in that sense. But we know they weren't part of the culture or trying to open up the door really even for the culture that way. So it's definitely convoluted, but I see Lord Jamar taking his stance, and he was going at KRS and the likes, about Puerto Ricans' inclusion in hip hop and or the start of hip hop. Again, like I said, that's that Bronx, the story in the park shit. Like I told you, I don't really fuck with none of that. Like as far as rap,
Yeah.
okay, I give them that. But as far as hip hop, nah, hip hop started in the West and it was with the LA Lockers. So I never look at it from how they look at it. I think that's like, kind of like Santa Claus type stories and shit. You know what I mean? It's kind of like folklore where I don't really, it's not really legitimate because it's never taken into account, all the elements. And so if dance, like we're talking about breakdancer right now, I always tell you the first breakdance or first modern form of breakdancing is is the lock.
That's
And
right.
so the lock created pop locking, and pop locking turned into breakdancing. If you try to eliminate one of those, then you take a part of the history completely away.
Right.
Uh, and so within that, again, Alfonso Shabadoo Quiones was Puerto Rican, and Papa Taco was Mexican. These people were Latinos. On the well, Alfonso was actually from Chicago and came to the West Coast, but still, these are West Coast. This was a West Coast expression at the time. It wasn't something that was created or sparked elsewhere. It was sparked here, and then it grew, and the culture spread. But people don't tell the story like that. They like to tell the story from when the rap's inception versus actually hip hop, the creative spirit of hip hop
Hmm.
being born. They don't tell it in that way.
Um. Wow. Oh, okay. It and I don't mean to rehash old stuff, but when
No,
you
no, no,
first
no. Let's do it.
when you first heard the breakdancing being announced as a Olympic sport, what were your first thoughts?
Again, like it's a farce. All of that is a farce. Like, like the only thing that they could have done is like again go and get a lot of the original, uh, Rock City Breakers or Rock Steady Breakers in that sense, and that kind of thing, and bring them out to introduce the world to what the some of the founding fathers were of it, and the same thing with pop lockers and stuff. You could have took Boogaloo Shrimp and all those people over there to represent that, and so um, and let them, if you're trying to actually, because they would be the foundation or the forefathers of this genre, and so to let them go and kind of introduce it, you know would have been probably better in that sense than just having a blanket Snoop Dogg as a hip hop character, kind of ushering it in. So again, we're talking about agendas, bro, and so fighting agendas from we don't have networks like this, and don't have this kind of reach. Only thing we have is being able to make books and write our things and journal it in a sense, so that we actually can distribute that and pass it down, and make sure that people know the history of it. But as far as trying to fight the agenda that's out here, that's going to be pretty tough for us overall.
Oh, okay. Speaking to agendas, what agenda could KRS-One possibly have to take such a stance when we all know the history, or those that were there pretty much know how the story started? I don't understand what he has to gain from that, from kind of deviating from um, the plot. And then it to me it just shows, it just goes to show how fractured the hip hop community is. If the elders or those that were there or can't even agree to a certain extent on like how this thing became.
Yeah, I definitely sided with Lord Jamar on this perspective, and so what he has to gain, I really have no idea, other than previous relationships and long time relationships that you know he feel maybe they would he would rub people the wrong way if he expressed it that way. But um, again, I don't think it's so where it's like this cut and dry thing where yeah, it's our expression, and it has evolved into just really our culture. That what most people don't understand or don't look at it or don't include in the conversation is that they created a reggae tone. They create other genres of things so that they can be encapsulated into almost their own culture most of the time.
Right.
And so for some reason there's an issue when we encapsulize, or you know what I mean, or we're amongst ourselves. That was like the issue with Kendrick's pop up and no Mexicans included. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. What is the issue with us functioning in our own energy in our own space? That is to me what the bigger issue is, and because the contributions of Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and others, I don't think anyone's really trying to denigrate or try to not give them credit for the things that they've contributed to the culture. But I think that again, they can always go back to their culture, and it won't be hip hop. When they go and engage mom and the family and all those things like that, it's usually not with hip hop as the background. Whereas for us, most of the time, it's generational, where our kids grow up on it and their kids grow up on it, and everybody it's just part of who we are. It's not something that we're trying to do. It's just naturally part of our energy at this point,
No,
and so how we express ourselves. So
no, and it's funny that you mentioned the Kendrick because when we put out the video about why there weren't any Latinos invited, I shouldn't have had a bunch of people. No, there was a Mexican there. You see, y'all just hating. Y'all got it wrong. I'm like, the point of it was, fine. Yeah, he had one guy, G Easy. I've heard of him. I don't recall seeing him, whatever the case may be, but it just felt like our people went out of our way to just say, no, you guys are wrong, and this is wrong, and what you're saying is misinformation. And I'm just like, you just can't win for losing with us sometimes, even when you're trying to just give a narrative, basically how it looked. Because I don't know too many people that watched the entire pop-up concert, because I sure as hell didn't.
no,
I,
I didn't
I,
either. No,
yeah. So if we got it wrong, okay, he had one Mexican, one Latino there. Still speaks to the point where
it was more than that. Yeah, it was a few Mexicans there, but it's just the fact that, again, especially in LA or anything like that, where it's like they feel like, I don't know, like whatever we do, they're part of it. It all kind of goes back to the Tupac saying this dumbass shit. It wouldn't be LA without Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're like stuck on this shit. Like that makes them part of the dynamic, when it's like you gotta actually contribute some shit other than buying a ticket to actually be part of the shit. And so and how do you live it? Like I said, if you go back home and it's bakta, or you know what I mean, and all that shit, like I'm not understanding, like what you're fighting for, because we're not disturbing you when you guys are on that, or we're not making a protest of inclusion or something into something of that you guys enjoy. I don't know why what we enjoy is such where they need to be part of it as well, or they feel a certain kind of way. It's crazy.
Gotcha. So I got you here for a history lesson. So
Yep.
I want you to take your time and walk us down, cut the ring off, walk us down each classroom. You know what I'm saying? So for
Yeah, yeah.
you,
I want to make a
yeah,
quick correction before we jump into it.
yes,
We were discussing Sheila E last time, and I incorrectly said Tito Puente instead of Pete Escovedo. Her father's name is Pete Escovedo, and again, the great percussionist and great family of percussionists. And so, but again, actually, the E in her name is Escovedo, and so Sheila Escovedo is Pete Escovedo's daughter, and he's a Latin jazz great. And so I wanted to make that correction, because again, I'm a big Chile fan, and I felt stupid saying Tito Puente versus Pete Escovedo. And so to everybody, yeah, I knew I made a mistake, and hopefully,
it's all good,
y'all don't kill me for it. Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
good.
But yeah, jumping into the Bay, man. Like I said, no matter how crime ridden it is right now, no matter how shut down all the stores and how bad the situation is, there is still one of the most special places on the planet. And I want to take it back for everybody. If you're going to talk about the Bay, you got to start with one name first, and his name is Lil Bruce.
Okay,
If you don't start with Lil Bruce, you out of pocket. Lil Bruce was signed to Jive Zamba first, before E40. Now, if you go and check that mobbing in my old school, if you go check the record, you'll find that at the end of the video, you'll see Earl Stevens and Be Legit making a cameo appearance, because Lil Bruce was the nigga. You know what I mean? And
okay,
so they followed in Lil Bruce's footsteps by the time they got to Jive Zamba and was doing their thing. That was started by Lil Bruce. So Lil Bruce, when you talk about Short, you talk about all these. Lil Bruce is the one that silently is swept under the rug and doesn't get mentioned. But if you from the town and you really from the Bay, and you don't talk about Lil Bruce when you talk about the history of the town, then you fugazi. That's all I can tell you. So shout out Lil Bruce and the history of the town, because that's really one of the most original official dudes to do it from the town. Lil Bruce, shout out. You know what I mean? So Yeah, I want to give Lil Bruce his propers. That's kind of like on some LA shit, giving it out up to like a Toddy T or a Mixed Master Spade, because those is like the original gangsters where everybody only know NWA and Dr. Dre and that perspective of it. But real gangster shit started way before them. You know what I mean? With Toddy T and Mixed Master Spade. So, so it's important that people get the little pieces that don't get the commercial light in media, but these are the people that really set the tone for how the shit developed.
Let me ask you this before you continue. Which
Yep.
came first, LA hip hop or Bay Area hip hop, to your recollection?
Mm. See, that's like taking it back to like locking, and Bay niggas was locking around the same
Uh oh.
time. It's hard to say that they was in a like a different time period. Like, if it was different, it was only months apart. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't a long separation. So they were feeling that same or creating that same kind of energy or finding it or seeing it in the same kind of similar way as we were. So no, I won't take that from the Bay. They was cracking early.
Okay, continue with the lesson. I'm here to learn.
Oh,
I'm here to learn.
okay. So yeah, so Lil Bruce. So again, I switch reels off Lil Bruce. So when you get into the legend, Too Short, Ty Shaw, again, what I would tell people to do is try to go find this tape. And the tape is the label is 75 Girls. Again, that name should tell you all you need to know. It was a pimp that was the label, 75 Girls. So clearly that was dude's, claim to fame was how he was getting his paper. And so it's a big ass Cadillac on the inside of this tape. And that's what I'm saying, where it say 75 girls and the whole thing. Like, it's a classic thing. This is first Todd Shaw when he would ride on the BART and be giving this tape out, you know what I mean, and carrying a radio and the whole situation to get early Todd Shaw. You got a broke, raggedy dude trying to make a name for himself and had one of the street hustlers, as always, that funded the project. And so at the end of the day, that's how he got his start. His most famous word, again, it, it started then. This is not something he came up with like on a fluke later on. By the time you got to 1988, 89, Short Dogs in the House,
Mm.
like bitch had already been a mainstay in you know what I mean, in the Bay in that sense. So it had been developing for already 6-7 years by the time nationally everybody was gravitating towards it. So you got to look at like his perspective early. It's kind of like a Devin the Dude of the South. You know what I mean? Like, but he kept going. Like Devin the Dude didn't necessarily have that continuation with his thing, that movement where Short never stopped, and that's what kept it going. I'm gonna end with Short because again, most people can go and find most of the history on Short, so it's not a something that's not tangible. But with Short, I like to say that very few rappers have made a hit record at around 50 years old. And Blow the Whistle, yeah, Too Short was damn near 50 years old with Blow the Whistle. And that's fucking incredible, man. Because people still love that record till today. And so, yeah. So Todd Shaw, legendary. East Coast, they never gave him his credit. But Todd Shaw, fucking legendary. The Bay Area's finest, for sure. Um, so yeah, so you got when you get Todd Shaw and that opens up the Bay in a sense where then you get a Richie Rich, you get a young Tupac Shakur hanging out with Richie Rich in the Bay and that during these times and things. Uh, the Bay, Conscious Daughters, first like female bubbling out the bays like that. You know what I mean? Like they still so impactful still to this day. In the sense of where what they did or how they did it was just what I mean. Again, these are no budgets. This is just all like what I call this is great art because this is creating when it wasn't no $1 million budgets or you know what I mean like everybody was still wearing their own clothes in the video. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You didn't even have, you know what I mean? Like video budgets for wardrobe and shit like that. This is before any of that shit ever existed. You know what I mean? Where that's what I mean by Lil Bruce. If you go check out the Lil Bruce video, there's, I mean, there's nothing commercial about it. He got on like the same sneakers he wear every day. That's what I'm saying. Like it's that's why it's so raw and fresh in the history of it. Like it doesn't get the glamorization of it because a lot of it didn't have a commercial look to it because they ain't had no money behind it yet. You know what I mean? And so that's what was always difficult to get is you was always the game always required you to sell your shit like it was more than what it was, and that was hard for the Bay to do at first because they was just coming raw and uncut. So yeah, so you had like conscious daughters. I may have skipped a little bit because I'm missing Dale the Funky Homo Sapien. So I might miss a few and go out of order, but y'all don't trip. But yeah, so that's Ice Cube's cousin, Dale the Funky Homo Sapien. That's where you get a whole lane of the Bay of hieroglyphics. You know what I mean? And so Dale was kind of MTV poster child in 1988, 89. You know what I mean? 1990 started to wane, but Dale was huge. Mr. Bob Dabalina.
Yeah.
Ooh, Mr. Dabalina. Yeah. So all that shit, like that kicked in the door to give the West Coast its hip hop lane. What I mean by hip hop, where it wasn't gangster shit. Gangster shit could always flourish, and street shit was flourishing, but you weren't really getting too much of a hip hop lane. And Dale gave the b boy a whole face and a whole identity. You know what I mean for Northern and Southern California. You know what I mean. So Dale is someone that's definitely not celebrated. That should be celebrated heavily. Again, because of his influence and his impact. It's still reaching today. They still have Hyro Day every year, still 20,000 people, 30,000 people coming to Hyro Day, and it's a beautiful hip hop function. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Delta Funky Homo Sapien, you know what I mean? Crucial Bay Area classic, artist. Went way left with a lot of his art afterwards, after his commercial success early. So that's why most people haven't heard of him because he went super deep underground. But that's just from an art perspective. That's where he went. He wasn't trying to chase the commercial shit, and so it happens to a lot of MCs that way, where because they kind of get boxed out of commercial lane, they go deep into the underground, and almost you never hear from them again to a degree. So, but I still keep my eyes up for Dale just on historically, just to see like he's still here, he's still cracking, he still make music. Okay, well, I'll at least follow him or something on one of my Instagrams or something, just so I stay in tune with one of the forefathers. So that's kind of how I show appreciation.
Well,
Um,
let me ask you, wouldn't Dell and those guys, wouldn't they be considered the original backpack rappers? Because
That's what I'm saying. When I say hip hop, that's what I'm kind of saying. Where like I call it street and I call it hip hop. You know what I mean? Where you can call it gangster, you can call it whatever backpack, whatever like whatever titles you want to put on it. But yeah, it was non-street. You know what I mean? It wasn't for the gangsters, wasn't for the streets, wasn't really for the clubs. This was the weed smoking, hip hopper, graffiti kid, skateboarder, all that perspective of life. So and so, like I said, Dale is kind of like almost the father of that for the West Coast to a degree on a small level. He's one of the fathers for sure.
let me ask you, what frustrates you the most about misconceptions of Bay Area hip hop?
No, I wouldn't articulate it as misconception. I'm glad you asked this question because I wanted to bring it up in a way. This is one of the most fucked up things about hip hop and that occurred, and that is the need for national validation.
Okay.
Hip hop is a regional sport, and so you're supposed to be dope in your region, and when you get so dope in your region, the other regions take notice, or those artists from other regions need you on records so that they can try to generate a buzz in your market.
Right.
So because of national popularity and things, that a place like the Bay or the Bay Area gets pigeonholed as being regional, and it's like a negative stigma slapped on them when they make their shit. And so it's kind of like again going to the South and Like if you was rest in peace, if you were a Young Dolph fan, I wasn't a big super big Young Dolph. I fuck with some songs, but I can't sit here and rap a bunch of Dolph songs off the head. And so, but Memphis make a certain kind of music, and that's what it is. Like if you try to you know what I mean? Like you either fuck with that or you don't. Like you know what I mean? Detroit right now, like they got a wave. You know what I mean? And they make a certain kind of music. It actually impacts all of rap because everybody wants that offbeat style and that new little swag they got. So everybody around the country is taking little pieces from it, but sonically that's some Detroit shit. And so shit is regional, but it expands because we're all fans of all the shit, and so but the sounds are really regional, and but for the Bay, it gets a stigma of like even Bay niggas would be like, this shit can't go past Vegas, and so meaning that that's as far reach as they have with the music or the fan base, and it shouldn't be that way, but oftentimes it is, and so it's just a limited opportunity. They got Kansas City, Vegas, Denver. They got a few little Midwest places they can go, Detroit, and those kind of places. They can get money and they can hustle, but it's hard, to transfer that to the South and the East. It's real difficult,
Well,
real difficult.
let me ask you because my connection to the Bay, my first A&R gig was Don P. Don P. The Last Don. I think it's one of the
Okay.
last albums on No Limit Under Priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at it like, okay, there's a label here. There's labels up here. Why could they just not break through the ceiling like L.A. and maybe that's a
Nah, nah,
rhetorical question.
because okay, if we look at it right now from like a modern perspective, the whole Bay signed the empire. The
True,
entire Bay Area
true,
signed the empire.
true.
You understand?
Yeah,
And so that's I don't care if it's filthy rich. I don't care you know what I mean. They're all signed to empire.
yeah,
And so Ghazi, number one, Ghazi loves everybody. He's down with the entire Bay, so he gonna make sure they got a distro of some sort to get their music out. But again, they don't want to attack it where they got to go get love from some outside situation. They just want to get theirs and put it out how they want to put it out because they gotta show their face or where they from, and so it has to be that shit. And if it's not that shit, then they get booed out. They get booed off the set. You know what I mean? Get the fuck
yeah.
out of here with that. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, um, historically, like I said, I can go all over the place. In the early '90s, you had the Drew Down and CNH. I tell a funny story. I was in Cancun. Um, I don't know if I was on Priority, Columbia, or Bad Boy Money. I don't know whose money I was on, but I was in Cancun, All Star Weekend. Everything's going. It's crazy as bubble. I ran out of weed. I'm dying. You know what I'm saying? When I'm telling you, I'm dying. And so I'm at the players' ball, and I mean my bag is just on a couple crumbs. I go to the bathroom, and CNH, Chris Hicks, you know what I mean? He used to be Drew Down's manager.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
in the
yeah.
bathroom, you know what I
Chris
mean?
is
He
a
in the
fool.
bathroom.
Yes.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
happening, Playboy? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm looking, I'm like, huh? You know what I mean? I go do my manly. I come back, he's still over there, with another nigga, but then I see him doing some business. I say, CNH, what you got? He was like, oh, player, you know what I mean? I got that thing from the Bay. What you need? I'm like, oh, shoot me the eighth real fast. He said, yes, sir. He said, but I got to charge you the international price. You know what I mean? I said, international price? I brought it across the water, Playboy. He was like, everything 5 times the price, 5 times the price for the international. You know what I mean? This nigga in Cancun talking about some international. I said, motherfucker, take this $120 and get the fuck out of my face for this weed. You know what I mean? Because goddamn, I need to get high. But yeah, CNH, you know what I'm saying? Like that's Bay Area shit. That's what I'm saying when you need it. You know what I mean? Those niggas is on deck. You know what I mean? In the best way. So,
That
so
is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. I got some other Bay Area stories for sure, but yeah, that's one of the funny ones just on some industry traveling. I want to talk in a different way about the Bay. There was a lady. she was real prominent, man, in the game. Her name is Tina Davis. Tina Davis was A&R at Def Jam,
Def Jam, yeah.
and
Chris Brown's
when I
old manager, yeah.
yeah, and she man, like I saw her when she would have the credit card, and Red Man, Method Man, be following her around like puppy dogs, you know what I mean, trying to get bottles in the club at night and shit. I see my first tour I ever went on was How to Be a Player. Okay, and I had Red Man in my car, Jail Felony. One of my first rap friends was Parrish Smith, EPMD. When I say first rap friends, like really he was my first big time weed customer. And I went to every EPMD show in Los Angeles or San Diego or whatever. Like Parrish Smith would call me and be like, "Nick, come through," and then I just be with Parrish Smith for days straight to a degree, or meeting up with him every day type of shit. So, but Tina Davis, for the Bay Area. Again, she's the reason Richie Rich gets signed. You know what I mean? Helping all the artists during that time get placements, get all. She was really really prominent. One of the a chocolate dark skinned sister, fine as a motherfucker. You know what I mean? I always thought she was a beautiful woman, but chocolate women don't always get the the fanfare like that. And she was always, super attractive woman, but she was about her business. So she worked closely with Kevin Lyles back in the day. And like I said, rumor has it that she was even, I think you mentioned Chris Brown's manager, and like I said, it might have been some.
We're not going.
Yeah,
That's another show. That's another show.
leave that alone. So yeah, but that's the infamous. But she's Bay Area's finest, historically one of the first A&Rs at a major from the Bay Area, and she put on for the town and making sure Richie Rich and others got opportunities. So shout out Tina Davis, because she's definitely a legend for the Bay.
I've always thought that the Bay period, as far as how black folk treated each other, was always the blueprint of how black solidarity, black kinsmanship. If it was one nation, that's what it would look like.
I'm gonna tell you, like one of my first visits. I got a partner in Oakland. He's the reason I know all this shit about Oakland. So I'd be wrong if I don't give him a shout out. His name is Marlon, but everybody call him Merle. So Marlon Adams, from the Bay, from the town. He's the one that plugged me with everybody that I know in the Bay. Gave me all this history, everything about the Bay. First person I ever watched the movie The Mac with. Um, he's gave me all the history on the Ward brothers and all the pimps in the movie from the Mac. Everything. I mean, down to one of the Ward brothers' sons. Like he's put me in contact, or I done ran up on, or spoke to in some kind of way. So many prominent people from the Bay, but Marlon Adams, my big bro, he's the reason that I know the Bay like that, because he's super tied in with all these people in a major way. Whether it's Mr. Fab, every time I'm in the town, I'm with Merle. We just roll by the shop, Mr. Fab outside, like blast, like you know what I mean. Merle right there, like it's just love. So I did a podcast in the Bay where I had the whole Bay kind of come out, whether it's Mr. Fab, Cool John, the Mechanics was there co-hosting it with me. Like I said, so many, Jay Stalin, all of them. So they had come out for me if I came and showed up, but because of Merle though. So I want to give credit to my big bro, because he definitely plugged me with some of the greats of the Bay. But yeah, like I said, I can go so many places. You know what I mean? Like producers wise, the Mechanics, Ant Banks back in the day. Um, it's been Rick Rock on the beats. You know what I mean? Like it's been so many. June on the beat. Like I just go through where just historically back to Shock G at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Where again, the Bay has always sprinkled the world with some greatness, but they've never been able to make it where, I don't know, the culture looks at them as such great creators, because again, that's where the language, Snoop owed the Bay about like $10 million, for all the slang that he took from them and utilized, you know what I mean, for popularity. it didn't give the Bay its credit. Like, so I always feel like, he's indebted to the Bay, because the Bay, again, I don't care who you are. If you're in LA, the Bay is always what recharges you, or where you get some new game from. And so that's that. When it's dry and burnt out down here, the Bay is where you go soak up game from, and have some new energy. So, the Bay is just its own thing. There's some other ones I want to talk about too. I put a few notes together. Yeah, I mentioned Drew Down. HBK. Let's talk about HBK. We had heartbreak. You know what I mean? Where you had I Am Sue, Pilo, Cool John. That whole run. That was an incredible run for the Bay. Like G Easy was part of that. The White Boy. Just an incredible, collaboration of new generation. Well, they're old now, but at the time they were new generations, early 2000s in that period. Just magnificent in the sense of they had their own swag, their own energy. They beats, again, Bay Area slaps, but with a new twist to it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you from there, like, and you don't got that 808 in there, you know what I mean? You missing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get the streets. You know what I mean? Because the streets, I don't care. It's still hard body cars, like, hard body Mustangs and shit, and everything, 68s and 66s. You know what I mean? Like, they still push that shit to this day. That, like, Oakland is just not, the Bay is not gonna change in that way. And so you can either incorporate it into your shit as it evolves, or you go kind of get left behind. That's all I'll say. But yeah, so you had HBK, uh, you got Live Wire again, Shady Nate, Jay Stalin, the Mechanics, Four Racks, Kenny Tweed, Filthy Rich, uh, you know, yeah, just incredible perspective. This is all, this getting into more the modern sound of Oakland in the time. Nefta Pharaoh, I could keep going on. Like, Nefta Pharaoh, one of my favorite artists, period, out of the Bay. Like, he makes slaps, like, he make Bay Area slaps to me, period. Like I just shout out Neff. I fucks with Neff, whether he signed a 40 or not. I fucks with Nefta Pharaoh. Like, as I said, I can just keep going on on and on. You know what I mean? Like, we go over to San Francisco. I used to fuck with Shoei for mayor. You know what I mean? Like, Shoei for mayor was hard as fuck from Frisco. Like, hard as fuck. I get out now out of Frisco. I fuck with Larry June real tough. You know what I mean? That's heavy rotation, but that's Frisco's finest. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just, it don't matter, old school, new school. Like, I tap in at every segment. You know what I mean? If I Mac from Mac Dre, hyphy movement with Mr. Fab, and that whole situation. That's a time period. That was more when Strong Arm Steady was in the game, when they were in the game, same time. All these periods. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it's one period that I'm missing, and that's what I really wanted to touch on. God, what I'm missing. With Fab being the mayor currently right now, if Fab is like, one just a supremely intelligent young man, great spirit. Like, for all the robbing that goes on in Oakland, they don't rob Fab's store.
Okay.
They stole his car, but they ain't robbing store. Like, but look though, this is what I'm saying. I mentioned they stole his car, but he got on Instagram and whoop, 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 and within a few hours, his car turned up.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by he's the mayor. Like, he has like, you need to get something done, go fuck with Fabi, because Fabi is tied in from the city to the street.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You know what I mean? So shout out Mr. Fab, man. That's my guy. Love him. You know what I mean? Every time I see him, show me love. So, but uh, there's Rex Life Raj. That's a whole different perspective of music. Like, he make like alternative rap type of shit. You know what I mean? But I fucks with Rex Life Raj, like, on some real shit, like, because it's different. But I know he's a Bay dude, like, and it's all Bay swag and shit. So I tap in just for the energy of it. That's what I'm saying. I can go on and on. I'm missing some right now, and it'll come as I'm talking. But like I said, if you got any other questions specifically related or anything, feel free to fire them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm keep,
Let's do some Monday morning quarterback, even though it's not fair to
okay.
do. But the hyphy movement
Yep.
should have been bigger.
Much bigger.
What
Much bigger.
so what went wrong in your eyes, and what would you have done different?
No, no, I never try to do that. Hindsight 2020 for all of it, but
Okay,
um, at the time, everyone else didn't like it. Hyphy became more popular afterwards than during. And what I mean by like it was like people gave it more credit after the era was over than when it was actually cracking.
okay,
You know what I mean?
okay.
And so like they didn't have all the super features. They didn't have all the East Coast niggas coming to try to get on those records and do all that. It wasn't like that. It wasn't well received elsewhere. It was still something regional. LA, the Bay, Seattle, you know what I mean? That type of thing. But it wasn't national where the East Coast and the South fucked with hyphy. They did not. And that's during this time, the South was on its upward trajectory.
Yeah.
So anything, the only thing anyone accepted from out here for a 10-year period was game until Kendrick came. That's just a fact. Nationally, I'm saying. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we was cracking it locally, but nationally, no. That's what I'm saying. So hyphy check for me and how I viewed it, nationally, hyphy was rejected.
Okay. Is it fair to say, because my wife, she's from up there, she plays mob music, and I just be sitting here like, what is this? It took me a while, but she puts it on and she goes into a trance. Is it safe to say that average hip hop consumer that does not live in LA, not even in the Bay, when they hear Bay music, they just don't they don't get it.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, yeah, this the Bay is Kobe beef. It's an acquired taste. You understand? You gotta have a perspective to even understand this shit. Like that's what and that's what I mean by hyphy. The hyphy swag was like, what is this shit? How everybody else, it did not come across as the digestible entity that everyone wanted at the time. And so no. But when you talk about the mechanics, again, my guys, Four Racks and Kenny Tweed, legendary producers out of the Bay. The mob sound. Now you talking to a mob fan. Me and your wife, we kick you out the room.
Yeah,
No
I would
disrespect.
leave. I
You know
would
what I mean? Kick
leave.
you out the room. We gonna let this shit slap. You understand? We gonna let this shit slap. And I fucks with it heavy. You know what I mean? Town music. So that's what I mean by it. It's like, but okay. It's like Paul Wall or DJ Screw when Chopped and Screw first came out. You talk about something that's legendary, but it didn't fly like that out here.
Okay.
That was a South and the East thing more so than it was a West thing. How
Okay.
slowed down and they was heavy syrup and lean before we were. So they had slowed they shit all the way down. We were like, what's that shit? You know what I mean? For the most part, it took us a minute to get hip to it. Once we got hip to it, then we was like, okay, now we fuck with. Same thing kind of for hyphy. It made they would have to come to the Bay, be kind of engulfed in it a little bit, and then go, oh, I get it now. Sitting at home on your couch, you know what I mean, 3,000 miles away, most people never got it, and that's what happens for the Bay. Period, for the most part.
How much did Mac Dre's passing hurt the movement? Because I
Oh,
always felt like he had next. Like I felt like if it was anybody that was going to burst through the bubble, the ceiling, and give the South and the East Coast a run for their money, it was him.
Thiz Nation, Mac, R.I.P. Shout out his moms, everybody. Mac, same thing. Again, Fat was the whole thing is with Fat Tone and the whole shit from Kansas City, and so this is what I'm always saying. They only have certain markets where they can go get money,
Right.
And so Kansas City is one of his biggest markets. You know what I mean? He can go do shows there all the time, get a little check, come on back home, keep it cracking, and feel good about himself. But that's what I mean by where again it's a regional thing. It's only going out so far. Mac Dre didn't have a national fan base like that. Mac Dre had a regional fan base, and so Mac Dre is a Bay Area legend. Now, outside of the Bay Area, again, most people didn't have that much, you know what I mean, intel on Mac Dre as far as the whole Thiz Nation because again, it's an acquired taste. But for me, yeah, you know what I mean. Like, it, you turn on one of his biggest record. I don't give a fuck if you're from the LA or the Bay, you turn it on right now, it's going the fuck up. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just that's some Cali shit right there. Where when it come on, I don't care where you from, that shit it goes. So some others I'm missing. Three Times Crazy. Like Three Times Crazy is kind of they're very slept on. Don't get any credit, but they gave the world Keek the Sneak. And Keek the Sneak is absolutely fucking amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what generation of new rappers come out, they all want the Keek feature. All. They all go get the Keek feature because Keek is one of the most special motherfuckers, and you'll never understand his raps until you listen to him 20 times. But he's one of the dopest niggas to do this shit in modern times from the Bay. He got a feel for some shit that's incredible. But Keek been doing this shit. Keek was in two other groups. He was Keek, Three Times Crazy. Then he was in a group, like a two-man group before that. I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. It's not coming to me. But Keek legendary. Again, someone that doesn't get enough credit. He in his wheelchair. So salute my guy. Living. He got into some problems and got shot. But still one of the legends from the Bay and one of the best to do it. Again, I pay to have Keek on the record right now. Period. That's just how much I love him. I got some money for him on the feature anytime.
Do you think the Bay will ever get its proper due? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, maybe it may take another culture that's not in the states because now Japan tends to pick up on not so much what's the popular stuff, but the undiscovered, the obscure. Japan's good for that, picking out the hidden
Mm-hmm.
gems, the
Yep.
shit that we discard. You ever see a time when the Bay will ever get its proper due?
Okay, I'm gonna talk about Richie Rich. I mean, Filthy Rich for a minute. Filthy Rich was rapping, 10 years ago, 11 years, 12 years ago. Um, I don't know how he did it, but his trajectory went through the roof, and he became one of these guys. So that's what I'm saying. He sells out in Detroit. He sells out in Kansas City. He sells out in Denver. He sells out in these places. He can do the biggest clubs there, and they all coming out for him. So see, I'm like, what is it for? Is it for to be like this ultimate superstardom? Like, Bay niggas is not delusional about that.
Okay.
Like Bay niggas like to be Bay niggas, and so they want it to be a certain way where they can go places and not be known. You know what I mean? But yet still have that money and access. You know what I mean? So Bay niggas like to be under on a certain level. They don't always want all the shine. Sometimes, but not always. Okay, comparisons. Like I always compare um it's a three. Oh man, I'm blanking on these young kids group. They broke up. It was three of them. The boy, Slimy, and Young T.O. To me, they were the Bay Area's Migos, but
Okay.
they broke up before they could reach their peak. But they oh my god, why am I gassing on the fucking name? Um, but those three young niggas, they all solo now. I tap in and listen to all they solo records anytime they drop something. But we all wish they were still a group and was still cracking like that again. Like to me, they was like the Migos for the Bay on some young shit. And like I said, so when you talk about why things don't happen or how it's it be all kind of street shit and all kind of whatever that convolutes this game, because that's what I'm trying to say, where it's regional, where this shit, like, okay, we if we splintered it off and went into sack, that's what I'm saying, where you got CML Lavish and yeah, yeah, and Lavish D and all them niggas, like they got problems with Mozzie. They don't fuck with Mozzie and them. That is beef with all that shit. You know, that shit localized. That shit is right amongst each other, a couple blocks away. You know what I mean? Like the problems don't be from far away. The problems be local. So that's what I'm saying. Where they do music, but they do music for for themselves, and I think that's a great thing though, because that's what I'm saying. Where when you go to the Bay, you gonna get it. If you're looking for it, they got it. But if you're looking for some other shit, then yeah, like it might not. You might not find what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Because they always on their own thing. Um, so yeah, like I said, I don't know why I'm blanking on that group name, but uh, again, they was like the last, what I would say, like super hot group new out of the Bay that
Was
had a
it
chance to be a, kind of national stars, but they broke up before they had a
wa-
chance.
was it Cali
So
Swag District?
no,
Was it
no, no, that,
not
that
them?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead, give me a question. I'll find it right now.
Yeah. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but outside looking in, it seems LA folks are a little bit more together, um, with the music as opposed to the Bay. Um.
SOBRBE is who I was talking
Oh,
about.
SOB. Okay, gotcha.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Why does it appear that way?
I think it's just the opposite. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
Like that's what I'm trying to say. I had a podcast. I had 20 of the Bay's finest,
Okay.
just all sitting up in a situation, playing bones. You know what I mean? Talking shit. They all know and love each other on a certain. Now, if one of their partners got beef with this nigga and that nigga got beef, that's something else. But for the most part, like it's a lot of love. It's more love in the Bay, just like you was talking about earlier. Like it's more kinship there and more love that I can find, brotherhood that I could ever find in LA. Average stranger. Okay, I'm gonna give you another perspective. There used to be a bar in Oakland called the Golden Bear. Okay, this is a legendary spot. It's no longer in existence. Now it's a spot called High Times. Okay, and it's a sports bar. But I've been to both, and at both places, people I don't know having full fledged conversations with me, talking to me like they know me for 10 years. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like,
Okay.
and that's the Bay. And LA is not like that. You know what I mean? You don't get that hardly nowhere. But in the Bay, everywhere I go, and especially if it's festive, it's family. You know what I mean? Now that don't mean nobody ain't funking, but I'm just trying to say. But the overall feel of people, man, nah, it's so much love in the Bay. That's why it's crazy to see so much crime and things. But that crime ain't an example of it not being love. That crime is the example of being the most expensive place in America to live.
Okay. Now the economics comes in. Now it's starting to make sense. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Um. Do you like the direction it's going in as of right now? Do you like where they're at musically? Because like you said, to your point, if most Bay guys were kind of more towards the wanting the spotlight, maybe the trajectory would be a little bit more higher per se. It'd be a little bit more known, or is that part of the problem because they want to be so low key? And it's like, well, if everybody wants to be incognito, who's gonna know who's who?
Again, you look at Amazi, and that's kind of star level for Bay artists.
Okay.
When you get beyond that level of stardom, you're almost removing yourself.
Okay.
It okay, like with Earl Stevens, 40 is a legitimate star. He continually does records with local artists. I'm talking about all the time. You just drop a single with a nigga. You know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
where it's like when you usually get to a certain plateau, you start to only usually work with people in your same, you know what I mean, perspective. No, that's what I'm saying. You can't do that from the Bay. because then you're out. You have to stay into what's popping locally
Okay.
in order to keep your relevance. You can't try to get out here and be popping like where you went somewhere else. No, because then the whole town, the whole bay gonna be like, beat it. You know what I mean? I don't fuck with you no more like that. Like you're not cracking here. You gotta have them the validation of them. If you have the validation of them, you're good. Period.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what means everything.
I agree with everything you're saying, but the A&R in me says that's a double edged sword.
No, the A&R in you is the truth. Again, how many platinum records we get out of the Bay?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I understand what you mean by an A&R, but that's what I'm saying. Where okay, let's take a different artist and compare it to. You know who the Bay is? The Bay is Currency.
Okay. I fucks with currency. I've been
I
for
fuck with
years.
Currency too,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Currency don't sell million records.
True.
You understand? But he'll put 4 projects out in a year that sold 75,000 to 100. You know what I mean? And made good money. You know
Mm-hmm,
what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that's what I mean. That's the Bay. You know what I mean? Where when they're good, we fucks with them. But their ceiling is not the ceiling of a New York or Atlanta artist. Their ceiling is much lower.
So you think that'd be more of a detriment if that were the case?
What you mean?
If the Bay ever decide to say, you know what, let's be another, let's be a major region, like if we want to be on the levels of L.A. And New York, do you think that would be probably the worst thing to happen, or that would be a huge mistake?
No, I'm not gonna say that. I like usually each region gets their shine or gets a chance where the light kind of, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
expands on them. And so I would hope that that could occur in a greater way for them. But like I said, the authenticity is what makes the Bay. Like I'm trying to say, like when you got artists like with names like Shady Nate, see, I don't give a fuck. I want to hear his record just because his name is Shady Nate, nigga. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the fuck? Like that's gonna be some grimy hard shit, and I'm tapping in quickly because he gonna have some bars that I'm unfamiliar with because I can't be a shady Nate. So he got some shit that I don't have, my nigga. I need that. You know what I'm saying? So shout out Shady Nate, man. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Like it's names like that debate that just fuck my head up where I'd be like, that nigga really name his name is Shady Nate. Like who calls himself Shady? Like other than the white boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. Like so, but because that it's a different Shady. His Slim Shady was way different than Shady Nate. Shady Nate is that's real that's real street shit right there. So like I said, the Bay is just like I said, it's special. Where okay, yeah. When I talk about the SOB RBE and the Larry Junes and the Shoei for Mayors and all this new like this is what I'm saying. Like okay, you had a new LA wave with Draco. Like, okay, so Draco was doing songs with Filthy Rich.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Had a big record with Filthy Rich from our perspective, not nationally. Like, this is one of my favorite records. I think it was Shanae. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. That was the name of the song, Shanae. And him and Filthy Rich went hard on that shit. But no, like, Draco was a young cat. You know what I mean? And got the feature from Filthy. These are the things that kind of tie us all, where it's like they weren't stars, but the quality of the street shit was so high. You,
Okay.
you understand? Like, and this that's what's more important than instant celebrity or hot record. You know, one hot commercial record. Being able to make this shit that has this staying power culturally, like the, Dracos and people like that learned that shit from the Bay. Like that was more important than trying to be having to sing song happy record on the radio and get on like that. That niggas would rather kept it as hard and street and authentic as possible and figure it out versus going that way. Where in our generation, a nigga wanted to make that Ja Rule record as fast as he could just so he could get radio spins. You know what I'm
Um,
saying? Or get an opportunity.
that's my leads perfect leads to my next question. It seems to me that the Bay, in its authenticity, is probably the most authentic region in the country, because it seems every other region, though they make music, they still eyes on the stars. Like I do want national radio play. Is that fair to say that most regions produce music, hopefully to catch a Billboard Top 100 record, or that catch that wave, and the
Mm-hmm.
Bay is the complete opposite of that. Is that fair to say?
Bitch, bitch, bitch. Bitch, bitch, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, that's KMEL. You know what I'm saying? Now, they might bleep out the bitch, but I'm saying they running the record and everybody's singing it. So that's what I'm trying to say. Where that's another difference. Whether you got pirate DJs, where Mind Motion, all those cats, they supported their artists forever. And that's why the Bay is alive in any kind of way, is because they supported their own. And th- like, so they didn't have to make a punk ass record to satisfy a radio DJ, because they could stay authentic and the DJ would still play it. That's where they like, fuck y'all. Like, well, I'm gonna go up here, you know what I mean, and let Mind Motion play the shit, and I'm still gonna be on a big ass station and get a lot of reach in the Bay, and everybody knows me, and this can ignite my buzz. I'd rather do it that way than go the other way. That's just them, and they feel more legit about it, because again, if everybody in the Bay is saying yes, that means more than any national recognition that they'll ever get. Period.
Any Bay artist that you feel a change in the music that you may not agree with currently?
Rephrase it. I'm sorry.
Okay, any Area artist, um currently, the current musical state, like the music they're putting out. Are there some people you're like, I don't like the direction you're going in. This.
Okay. Okay, I'm glad when you asked that. Yeah, there is, but I don't want to say it that way because I love
Okay,
her,
okay,
and the artist is Kamaya. Like,
okay,
Kamaya is dope to me. Like, she's fresh. Like, but I just think she could do what I would say a higher level of records.
okay,
Now, I like her doing her street features and things. She has records with Jay Worthy and people artists like this, and those are good records. I love the look. It's fly shit. But I think she could do, and it's not so much about her flossing. I see she floss a lot because she got a bag and she's doing well. So I'm happy for her in that sense. But that's not what it's about with her. That's what I mean by it. I think she like when she first came out, she had an authentic story about her because I think she had came up in the foster care system and things of that nature, and you know what I mean. To see her strive and get to where she was at, everyone was saluting that. You know what I mean,
right,
and proud of her story. Well, to me, she hasn't continued that. To me, she has, you know, accentuated the success and the financial aspect that she's been able to accomplish, which ain't nothing wrong with that. But I think she could say more or paint a picture in a different way to give some inspiration to the girls coming behind her, you know. And so I want to give a shout out also, RIP to the young lady lost her life, Tan the God. She got
yeah,
killed the other
oof,
day, you know what I mean, on some senseless, well, I ain't gonna say senseless, whatever was going on in the streets, it came back, you know what I mean, to her. And so again, I don't mean no harm to her in any way, or her family, or no disrespect. Like I said, RIP, you know what I mean? You know, and my condolences to the whole family. Again, that's a sad situation. But yeah, that's what I mean by it is as authentic as Oakland is, you go too far, then the streets gonna let you know. You know what I mean in that sense, and that's what I mean where it's they're unto themselves, and the rest of the world don't matter so much. If they're validated within this region, then they feel like they're just as big a star as Jay-Z. You know what I mean? And that's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell them shit because basically that's the other thing. Like, the Bay don't validate everything. You know what I mean? Like, just
okay,
because it's cracking everywhere else, that don't mean that shit cracking in the Bay at
okay,
all. And
okay,
so that's what I mean by it is they're their own thing. And so what the shit that they love, okay, let's take it in a different way. Drake single. Think about Drake. Drake riding in the motherfucking 6'4", through the bay and go and meet up. You know what I mean? Now she want a photo. You don't really know. Only live once. That's the motto. What are you talking about? That's in the bay. That's in the bay with Fody and everybody in the video. Like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. He went there. He took the whole thing to them, and that was one of his biggest first or early singles. Period. You know what I mean? The YOLO, YOLO became a word in the lexicon of shit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's in the Bay, and that nigga's from Toronto. That's my point. Is you know what I mean? You want some love? Well, go tap in. You know what I mean? Because it'll be there forever once you go tap in the right way. And so yeah, the Bay is man. The Bay is legendary, man. That's why I wanted to talk. Give some little historicals about Lil Bruce. Like I said, we can go through so many of them with Drew Downs and you know what I mean, the Richie Riches and the Ant Bankses and the you know what I mean, and so many throughout the years. But I like to touch on all the eras to show its hotness, whether it was the 90s, whether it's the 2000s, 2010s. Like it's always been groups and that's been bubbling and cracking. It don't mean that nationally they got the shine, but for a Cali person that loves rap in this way, man, like I don't separate LA and Bay Area rap that way. Like it's some hot shit come out the Bay. As I'm saying, Larry June, top 5 artists for me right now in California.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
like just for me personally, like Mozzie might be Mozzie top 5 artists California. The best artists right now in California come from the Bay Area. Period. That's just a fact. I don't care what you say or how you feel about it. Like other than I'm saying, if we exclude Kendrick, if we take Kendrick out of the picture, then tell me who's hotter than the niggas in the Bay. Nah, you had Nip when Nip was in that conversation. Now to be one of those pillars for LA, you remove the pillar. No one's filled that void. You
Okay.
understand? Kendrick is like Kendrick is here, but Kendrick is removed from the stratosphere now. Kendrick is you know what I mean? Like he's in legend status, so it's different. I'm talking about those that are still street related. You know what I mean? But their trajectory is still upward. You know what I mean? And we don't necessarily have that right now. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just the truth. Like I can go through a lot of LA artists, but I like I'm not seeing that per se. Where the Bay consistently right now is putting out a lot of good material, and
Okay.
so yep. Go ahead.
Help. Well, not me, but maybe fans that don't understand when you say the Bay, which cities do you refer to? Or are you just talking NorCal in general?
Great, great. Yeah, we touched on this lightly. Okay, Sacramento is not the Bay. Okay, Sacramento is Northern California because Sacramento is inland. That's like east. You know what I mean? Like they way closer to Nevada than they, going that direction. But yeah, so when you talk about the Bay, you're talking San Jose, you're talking Oakland, Vallejo, uh, uh, Alameda. What you call it? What's my little city over there? Antioch. Uh, yeah, these are the Bay Area cities like that. But it starts this most southern part of the Bay is San Jose, and then you go all the way north to like Stanford, Berkeley, all in there. Then you come around to Vallejo and all those places, Antioch, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But that's the Bay. The Bay is going to be water related cities. Anything that's not up against the water in that region right there is not the Bay. You outside of the Bay. You're Northern California.
That's probably the best description I've ever heard because I've had many
Absolutely.
people describe it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. San Jose is when you enter the Bay. Like under San Jose is like Modesto and all that. Modesto would be the northernest part of like Central Valley,
yeah, that's
and
Central.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Anything below that, definitely
anything
Central
below
Valley.
that Central
Yeah,
Valley.
yeah,
Above Modesto, then you hit the Bay at San Jose.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you go to the right, because it's the 580 and the 5 when you're traveling up north
That's
like this.
right.
And so you take the 580, the 580 gonna take you through all the Bay Area cities. When you take the 5 is taking you out of the Bay Area to Sac and all those cities, and that's not the Bay.
All right.
Yeah,
Um.
West Side shit. You know what I wanted to mention to you too, because I was
Yes.
on the show the other day, and I heard you on the conscious spiel. You know what I mean? You got to know I'm a God body, number one. I'm heavy more science, number two. We got a lot of the same influences, whether it's Siri Ducateers, Yusuf El, I'm heavy ties to Tariq Bay too, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. When you engage this knowledge stuff, hey, don't feel free to send me a link because I tap in heavy on
For
all that.
sure. Yeah,
I
definitely.
got Black's Law dictionaries, fourth and sixth edition. So don't think I'm not on my dean. I love hip hop, I love rap, but I'm a well-rounded man at the same time. You know what I mean? So I engage all these perspectives.
No, I'm glad you said that, man, because I remember years ago, at one point, it just felt like we were getting jumped, like just for speaking our piece, and this is how we see things. And
It's still the same. It's still the same. It doesn't change. Again, like we're most hated for sure, and yeah, and that's okay. I like that perspective. Again, a nigga from LA that's on God body and more science shit. You gotta be the most. You know what I mean? Open to being vilified because there's very few niggas like this in Los Angeles, and um, so I'm always looking for A likes around anywhere I can find them. You know what I mean? And I tap in. You know what I mean? My thing is I like to learn from people, and so that's why I've been on your channel for years because again, like I said, it was elements that you were more, you know what I mean, up on that I wasn't. And I wanted to tap in and get some of that knowledge, you know what I mean, on certain perspectives. So that's what makes me gravitate towards things. But for this hip hop shit, like I said, I'm in my however long the universe gives me. Yeah, I want to keep pushing this narrative because it really ruffles the feathers of the people on the East Coast when anyone has anything to say about where and how hip hop started. So I'm gonna be a thorn in the side as much as I can to these motherfuckers. Like I said, I wish I could get on with Lord Jamar. I wish I could get on with KRS, and I would give them some of this West Side shit because they like to keep that little mythical New York shit going. And again, I'm not here to ever denigrate the story in the park and bringing out the mic and rapping. Cool, y'all can have that shit. I'm not fighting that. I'm not fighting it. But everybody that I'm mentioning had a big brother that or a cousin that was trying to lock because they saw it on Soul Train. And if you say you didn't, you
you
lying.
lying,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? You lying. And within that's the first hip hop influence on anybody. I don't give a fuck what they say in the modern time. There, I've seen the clips of the guys rapping in the '50s and all those kind of things. I've seen those things, and that's cool. I'm not saying it, but in this modern form of expression. This is why I said it. I mentioned this at my mother's funeral because it was a thing. I'll share this story with y'all. The first party I ever went to, I was 13, going to a party. All my peers, the homies is there, everything, and so I laid out my clothes, to go to the party and everything, and so I had my sneakers, right there. My mom, old school, you know what I mean. She was like, "Niggas don't go to no party in no sneakers," She was like, "You supposed to wear some shoes," And I was like, oh man, like nah, like you don't understand. Like we a tennis shoe era. We don't fuck with none of that. Mom's in here tripping. You know what I mean? Like you ain't going to no party if you think you finna wear some tennis shoes and shit. I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, so nigga put the biscuits on, you know what I'm saying? Went to the motherfucking party, right? So like I swear it was like a motherfucking scene out of Everybody Hates Chris or something, right? The nigga pull up, like we pulling up to the party, and it was like it was like my eyes is the camera, and the camera got big as fuck because I could see every nigga's
That
feet.
pan
You know what I
shot.
mean?
Just
And
pan
I'm
right
saying,
into.
and every nigga had on sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, God damn, you know what I'm saying? And then look, this is what the most fucked up part about it is. You know what I mean? I love her more than anything on this planet. She look and she go, "Oh wow, I guess everybody is wearing sneakers." You know what I'm saying? I mean, like you talking about make a nigga not want to go no fucking where now. Like, damn. So I gotta get out the car, and man, I mean, niggas is like, oh yeah, like bro, like what's those? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you went to church earlier today, my nigga? What happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nigga had the worst fucking time, you know what I mean, on his first fucking party ever because mom's didn't let him wear sneakers. But I say all that to say, to be long winded, to say is that's is where it told you that a change was happening because nobody wore sneakers to functions. The Lockers wore sneakers in 1971, 72, 73. This is why I'm saying the change. Sneakers are the only thing that hip hoppers wear, break dancing and doing all those things. We ain't never wore no hard shoes or moccasins or, you know what I mean? None of those shits, you know what I'm saying? We ain't wore none of that. No karate shoes, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, none of that. This is a sneaker culture as far as what we do. And so that's what I'm trying to say is the Lockers were the first expression of that, coming to the show with suspenders and everything, but colorful outfits, and they had on sneakers. You know what I mean? And so that's what lets you know this is the beginning of a new, you know what I mean, expression, because we were expressing it with even how we dress. So yeah, again, Lord Jamar and the whole East Coast, they don't never want to give the West Coast credit, but the first hip hoppers are from Los Angeles in the West Coast for sure.
I like where you're going with this, real quick. So,
Yes, sir.
I guess it's maybe a two-folded question. Why did they go out of their way to not acknowledge the Lockers? Because all the hip hop documentaries I've ever seen, I've never seen them acknowledged, or they're just blinky you miss it moment. We all watched What's Happening. Everybody knows Soul Train was on the West Coast. Like, I don't understand how everyone forgot this piece of history, so conveniently. So why do you think that is? That's the first
It's just
question.
like, okay, this is a great question. It ties into straight exactly what we're talking about, like with hyphy. See, they try every person from New York or somewhere, they'd be like, oh, those niggas was clowns. They was wearing those funny ass hats and those big ass clothes and doing all those niggas was clowns. They do all that, but you know what I mean? But the first niggas that was doing graffiti in New York and all that, did you see how those niggas was dressing? Like, those niggas was bummy as a motherfucker. So I'm saying, like, do I gotta be bummy? At least these niggas had some style and was trying to have some pizzazz with being broke. Like, y'all niggas just wanted to be bummy looking. Like, so I don't know. It's like they just denigrated and hated on those niggas because they didn't want to give them the credit of being the originators of it. You know what I mean? Like, and it was the way that they protected. It's kind of like almost like politics and shit where, they keep running a narrative out there. And because they've sold this narrative so much, anybody that comes with something that's opposite is like, he's looked at as an ogre. Like, something's so fucking wrong with him, or he's so, out of touch. You know what I mean? When actually, we're just really commenting and giving validation to what occurred. And so, yeah, no, the Lockers is definitely the first hip hoppers. I don't give a fuck what Lord Jamar say. I don't give a fuck what KRS One say. I don't give a fuck what nobody in this hip hop community say. There's no hip hop expression before the Lockers. Period. Shout out Don Campbell, the inventor of the Lockers. Period.
Second question: do you think how New Yorkers hold on to that hip hop thing is that an identity thing? Because without it,
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely, absolutely. Like, again, rap, this microphone, and not the MC, because the MC initially didn't rap. He just said, throw your hands up and yo, yo, you know what I mean? Go DJ, now scream. Like, that was the first nigga on the mic. You know what I mean? He wasn't busting no raps. He was helping the DJ rock the party. Okay, keeping the party, you know what I mean, cracking or activating. That's what the first MC niggas doing. Now, the rapping shit coming in or whatever, they hold this shit like the Jesus story. You know what I mean? Like Christians in the Jesus story. That's what it is. It's Jesus in the manger. You know what I mean? Where they don't want to let it go when there's other elements to it. Now you get someone like me. I read the Bible and I'd be like, the spirits walked in the room. So who's the spirits that walked in the room when before Jesus was conceived with Mary? So I'd be like, yeah, Mary got some other dick other than Joseph. That's how Jesus was made. And then the Christians go, oh, like you're talking blasphemy. Like, you can't say any shit like that in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, well, I don't know what your interpretation is. Spirits walked in the room, but when the spirits walk in the room where I'm at, it's a nigga attached to it. And so I don't know know what kind of spirits walked in on Mary, but it had to be a nigga attached to it, because Jesus was made after that shit, and so that means somebody busted nut up in Mary, and that's how she got pregnant, because Joseph was impotent. So, Christians can be mad all they want, but from where I'm telling it, it's the truth.
Yeah, yeah. My
So,
man.
but yeah, they hold on to that hip hop story and that rap shit the same way that Christians hold on to the Immaculate Conception, and it's a false story. You know what I mean? Actually, they're not giving credence to the some other elements that actually occurred, and so because hip hop is not just rap, that's why they're so off base with it. Hip hop is how many elements? You know what I mean? And so if you're including all the elements, dance, graffiti, you know what I mean, DJing, you know what I mean, and MCing. If you're including all of them, dance came first.
Right.
There was no rap music again till 79. That was almost 9 years later before Sugar Hill, 8 years before Blondie.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to say. There's no way that the dance happened before the music, meaning that there, like, when I was a pop locker, I wasn't a locker. I was a pop locker. We were still dancing to Thomas Dolby. We were still dancing to what's my guy Rocket.
Herbie Hancock.
Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
Those were the first locking in pop locking songs in a sense. The Tour de France, all these kind of records. We were pop locking to these records. We didn't. There were no rap songs that we were pop locking to.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's later. That's after the fact. Rapping it really became something with Run DMC and LL Cool J. That's a fact. Where sure there were rappers before them that preceded them, whether it's Schoolie D and all the perspectives of life that you're talking about, gangster shit, when gangster shit happened, or if you're talking about you know what I mean, the Melly Mel's and the Grandmaster Flash perspective and that little era of MCs, a Busy Bee and all those cats. When you talk, okay, I give them their little time in that, but again, no national impact, no national thing uproar of everybody. This is still kind of like some localized shit for New York at this point. You know what I mean? And so until you get where we all on the West Coast like Sugar Hill, and Rapper's Delight. We all learned that record when it first came out. We knew it word for word. We knew Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, The Message. We knew all those records too. So any rap record that came out, we digested it that way. But those weren't the things that were inspiring hip hop culture yet, though, as far as when we went to the party, the records that it was those instrumental records and things that we were looking for. It wasn't the rap songs yet. That wasn't inspiring the dancers yet. And that's what I'm saying. The dancers is what created the party. And so the MC is later on in this party situation. It's dance and music first before there was ever a rapper. And so people don't understand.
No, I'm glad you said this because Kraftwerk, all those guys, that was like the tail end of disco. Once disco died off, you had all this Euro techno shit come through.
Yes.
And that's all they played in the background.
That's all we wanted to dance to. I'm talking about pop locking was my thing. And I danced to all those Freak Buffalo Girl, all those records is what we wanted to dance to. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the shit. You know what I mean? Like I said, once Run DMC and Cool J them came, then it turned where now this platform of you could be this kind of dude. Like again, that's why I say they don't give the credit to the lockers because do you know how many groups came after the lockers?
Yeah.
Like that's where the hip hop culture was. Everybody had a locking group or a pop locking group. You know what I mean? Before you wanted to be an MC,
a dance
you
group.
didn't want to be an MC until 1984, 85.
It was in a dance
Stop lying about this shit, man. That's what I'm trying to say. They lying about the shit on what was love. It's like in basketball. Like Dr. J is the first love of us all. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you were born or in that era before Michael Jordan, before Magic Johnson, there was Dr. J, and he made the kids sit on top of
Yeah.
the school across from Rucker Park to watch him play
Yeah.
without binoculars. I don't give a fuck who you are. Nobody was bringing them out like that before internets or anything like that. Dr. J was the shit.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying that is that the errors, like they don't talk about Dr. J like that. They always say Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? This is the GOAT. Dr. J, I don't give a fuck what you. He had a shoe. He had the Converse
The
with the star
Converse.
and the V.
Yes, sir.
What you
Yes, sir.
man, nigga? What? We like
Yes, sir.
the fuck out of here, man. Like I'm saying to give the credit to who really kicked it off and made it so that it could rise to the level that it has risen to. Again, it takes the predecessors, but as far as hip hop is concerned, the Lockers are damn near the fathers of the whole movement. And so of the modern way. Yeah, the Lockers for sure. They don't get the credit, but they deserve it for sure. So hip hop started in the West. Ice Cube said it on a record, and he wasn't lying. When he said it on that record, I used to always be like, man, like he should have said that shit. You know what I mean? Like, because I always looked at it, started it, in the Bronx and all that shit too. And so, but it wasn't until I really took another like turn of the head and look at like the culture, and then I thought about my own childhood experiences and said, nah, it wasn't no rap music. Like we was dancing already and locking and pop locking and doing all those things already before anybody was rapping anything. So the culture was already created by the time the MC got there. You know what I mean? Like to say that like rap had created the culture, that's false.
Well, I wish he had said your points back then when he made the claim. It's one thing to make a claim, but then nobody ever really pressed him and asked him for a follow up question. Well, why did you say this? Why do you feel that it started on the West Coast? Had he said what you said, I think this discussion we're not having at this point because he's a big enough voice to have people be like, you know what, let's go look into that.
Right, you're right, but I don't think he was just being an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so at the time where just dissing the East in a way, and so I just think he was being contrary, with the lyric or with the line. Whereas for me, it made me take a deep dive on it and then say, you know what? Yeah, I'm actually going to step out on this and stand on it and say that nah, like the facts and the proof. Like there was no rapper who had a Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull commercial in 1977 or 78, but the Lockers surely did. See, this is what I'm trying to say. Like they like if you take it all the way to breaking the movie I'm talking about, if you take this movement all the way to breaking from 1971 to 1987, this dance
The led the yes.
led this entire thing. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's where Shabba-Doo being in the movie Breaking, he was an old man already. You know what I mean? Like that's what nobody even understood. He wasn't part of the young generation at 87. He wasn't just coming out of high school or something. He had been on Johnny Carson in 1976. This was 11 years. He was already 30 something years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing this shit. And that's what I'm saying, where they try to denigrate it. But if you try to say Shabba-Doo is not a hip hopper, then that's when I pull your whole card. You know what I mean? Because I'd be like, what the fuck do you mean? Like he's the face of a generation of dance. And before music defined that thing, it was the dance. So that's all I'm gonna be with the
I'm
flagpole
with
with
you,
this
bro. No,
shit. You know what I
I'm
mean?
with you.
I'm like Iron Sheik in wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
I'm gonna be out here with the flag. You know what I mean?
you were
For
the
sure.
only person to when you said that it, and then I go do the research and it spark all these memories. Like I remember this. I
Yes,
forgot they had a commercial. I forgot I used to watch them on TV. They were
they
there.
were superstars. They
Yeah,
were superstars. Man.
I can't remember anybody rapping until the Sugar Hill rap record. I remember Toni Morrison. I remember the Blondie Rapture record, but no one was calling that shit
Mm-hmm.
rap. I was just like,
Nobody.
she's talking in the song. Nobody was calling that rap.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not
You
at all.
know,
Again, like I said, that was the record company's way of getting ahead of a
yes,
movement that they saw coming. You know what I mean? So they were trying to capitalize on it. And so again, not I understand the marketing ploy or whatever, but from like you're saying with the breakdancing shit and taking the credit of it, you know what I mean? When Google, you know what I mean? If the average person, they don't do research, they
10
just Google.
seconds. Yeah.
It's
Well,
and so
I
when you
want to
just
I want to salute you and commend you for saying that and standing. I'm with you. I let lock arm. We gonna it be us against Goku and
let's
Vegeta
do
versus
it.
the whole
Let's
Marvel
do it,
cinema.
bro.
You know what I'm
Two
saying?
brothers with muskets. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? We'll go out here and light these motherfuckers up. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, a motherfucker don't really want to step in the square or allow me to step in the square on this subject. Like I said, like I'm gonna speak on it in a different way. You got gatekeepers like the Elliot Wilsons. You know what I mean? And people like this. They don't do shit for the culture. You know what I mean? Like again, same thing with No Jumper and Adam 22. Like Adam 22 is a disgrace. You know what I mean to hip hop and hip hop culture. And what I mean by it is that see when I created my podcast was called The Niggas You Love to Hate. It's still clips up here with me with Problem, with me with other artists and stuff. Jason Martin, he just released a project, but yeah, it's still clips. Mike and Keys, Nipsey's producers, they produced Victory Lap. You can still go find my clips with them up. I had started my podcast around the same, a little bit before No Jumper, but around the same period of time. The reason for doing it was to bring attention to the next wave of artists in the region. That's the reason for having a platform. If you're gonna do this kind of shit, to turn it into a gangbang farce of ignorance, like doesn't that look a certain like uh, okay, a mature man from Los Angeles would not promote gangbanging because he would know the destruction that it's done to so many people here over the last 30 and 40 and 50 years that it's not something he would just promote like ah ha 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 funny this is some shit to nah
Mm-hmm.
anybody that's for real and from LA you would be like you don't want to push that shit because of the negative impacts that it's had everywhere. I don't care about the popularity that you see on all these people with gangbang channels on social media. I'm talking about the impact on life. Those same niggas live in an area that none of you would ever want to live in.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So they're glorifying some shit that's the worst, most stupid shit on the fucking planet. And I came from it. I grew up in Los Angeles, a neighborhood called the Jungles. And that's just as bad as any neighborhood in Los Angeles. But it's not something I would glorify or make it seem like, nigga, this shit popping. Shout out to the Baby Stone Gorillas out there. You know what I mean? That's some young niggas that's from LA that rap, that's from the Jungles. I don't know them personally. I know some of their big homies though, for sure. And so within that, that's still not some shit I would be pushing. They want to represent that? Cool. I never banged BPS. I'm from the Jungles. But they bang BPS. So they got to deal with all the problems that come with that out there in the world also. That's my point in saying I'm proud of where I'm from, but I'm not carrying no other niggas' problems out here in the world or none of that shit. Whatever. When I ain't got nothing, it ain't got nothing to do with me, and I don't got nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by it is that it's way more things. Like again, Nip is saluted all throughout the city and had a pass. He could go to anybody's neighborhood or anything. That was such an incredible thing for a nigga that was from 6-0 in Los Angeles. Like, because it can't be done most of the time. So then now recently, because of the Kendrick show, now they saying the A-Trays is got a truce now with the 6-0s in the neighborhood car. So if that happens, that's cool. That's positive that they want a peace treaty or you know what I mean, truce or whatever. Cool. But I'm saying fuck all this gangbanging. Like half the areas you claim, 90% of the area is Mexican. So I don't know how you could claim an area and it's all Mexicans in that
See,
neighborhood. You
they.
split the hood. You gotta have a agreement with them on dope and what areas or how much.
Yep.
Like fuck all that shit. There ain't no sharing shit. So that's what I'm trying to say. So Mexicans got a problem with us trying to have a little space with rap shit, but you done moved in every neighborhood that we've been in for the last 40 years. Fuck all that shit. A nigga want to have some space to himself. And if a nigga got a motherfucking Mexican got a problem with that, then that's on him. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see a bunch of, well, that's a lie, because there's a lot of niggas that live in Merida, Mexico. But that's what I be wanting to know. If a bunch of niggas can move to Merida, how come the average Mexican can't live in Merida? I don't understand like why you would have to cross over a border when it's a nice city that's right here. They got plenty of apartments that niggas from LA move to. I don't understand it in life, but again, that's just me. So, but again, the No Jumper and Adam 22, yeah, because I know the dude who helped Adam 22 start it.
Okay.
This black nigga named TK. He's a bitch ass nigga, and so I want to say that on film so that everybody knows that's how I feel about TK. And so so to Adam 22, yeah, I know you know I know TK, and I know about how it all started, and so that's what I mean by where for them to get a platform, have the success from a numbers wise, have the opportunity to have a positive impact for Los Angeles. What artists they develop? What artists they help get some shine and that help propel that artist in any kind of way? Only thing that shit is doing is helping Adam make more money. It doesn't do it, or maybe Whack because he's on it. He elbowed his way up into the shit, and now he can make some money off of a platform that's getting so many clicks. But what does it do? What does it help? Back to the Bay. The Bay has Thizzler. Thizzler, they got ciphers every fucking week of new Bay Area rappers, bussing, female rappers, everything. You could go there and find new creative shit. The culture moving, the culture progressing. It has a reason. It has a resource, a utility. No Jumper has no fucking utility on the planet other than lacing a hunky's pocket that's running rap into the ground. You know what I mean? So fuck Adam 22 or any of that shit, because that's a disgrace to LA and all that shit that I see. That's disgusting. And this is a 50-something-year-old nigga saying it from LA. So anybody that got a problem with it, I'm the OG saying that shit. You know what I'm saying? And if it's an OG around you that's not saying that shit, he ain't doing his fucking job. Period.
Okay, OG call was made, y'all. An OG call was made.
Yeah, that No Jumper shit is trash, bro. Like, you check out Joe Budden, like all these little talk shows or whatever, like, cool. They got a little entertainment space they doing it for, and that I ain't mad at that. That's okay. But this is degenerate shit out here that they doing. You know what I mean? They showing behind the scenes gangbangers on the lot wanting to fight, and you know what I mean? Everybody running fades, you know what I'm saying? And all this. What the fuck is that doing for rap or hip hop or helping niggas flourish their careers? It's not doing shit. It's not helping advance Los Angeles in any way. It makes us look like buffoons and stupid. And I don't want to be a part of that or associated. So that's why I try to, again, I come to these kind of platforms to express myself versus ever trying to solicit myself on any of that kind of shit.
As
Ever.
you should. That's why we're here. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Well,
sir. Yeah.
before I let you go,
You can have dignity and be in hip hop. Trust that.
before I let you go, I tell people all the time, California is its own planet, own country. The politics in this state, most people be like, that makes no sense, huh? Why? And from prison to the streets, and
Backwards. It's backwards.
okay, can you briefly talk to that and or why that is, or because yeah, most people they think California. I'm like, you stay. I tell people, don't come here, just don't come to visit, vacation. You know, we got the saying, you come on vacation, leave on probation. That shit's very real. Um, it's its own. You can explain it way better than I can.
Like a LA nigga like to he rather have a nice car, live on the east side of LA, and people think he living a good life because he got a nice car versus move to a better area. That's the kind of mindset, you know, like because I'm from over here or whatever like that. So I want to always have the people around me acting like I did, you know, oh I'm pushing the bins or I'm doing this or like it's some stupid ass shit, you know. It's like this is the thing about the shit about this culture of Los Angeles that I always felt like was the dumbest shit in the world. These niggas be hard. These are some of the hardest niggas in the world. I give them that. They hard. These niggas want to squab, fight, shoot, do all this stupid ass shit all the time, right? As soon as the shit happen, these niggas run to the church and be praying to God and Jesus again.
Yeah,
I be like, I thought y'all niggas was hard.
yeah.
I thought y'all niggas was tough. But y'all niggas is religious after you did some dumb shit. That that's an LA nigga because he has no rhyme or reason for what the fuck is going on until he wakes up and he's almost 60 years old and he's like, I was doing some dumb shit back then. Like, man, nigga, shut the fuck up and go die, nigga. You know what I'm saying? You done did so much stupid shit. Nobody want to hear that shit now. You know what I mean? But that's the sickness of living in Los Angeles. It's an abundance, or Southern California. I'm gonna say, gang banging is in the veins of so many, and it's just not something that ever. I never saw the appeal in it. I never saw the attraction. I never saw anything that was of substance to me that would make me where I would want to associate it. I've even been to people's hood day. You know what I mean? Like, all the gangs, they have say their own individual hood day where
Yeah,
they party and they all come together and all that. Yeah, I've been to hood day before, and so that's not an experience that I would ever want to partake in again in life. And so on in anybody's hood, and so that's my point in saying is that whatever that is, man, like, again, I can read, and so the fact that I can read, I'd rather expand my mind than be on some dumb shit. Sorry, that's just me.
that is. This is from the hip hop elder, hip hop OG, Strong Arm Steady Cruz, William Blast. I had a blast.
Always clack, 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 clack. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, man. But all aspects of this shit we can always discuss. But like I said, I try to keep mine where I'm a there's many, like I said, like the Elliot Wilsons and all these dudes. There's so many East Coast pundits and all these, rap experts and all that. I don't try to be that. I try to be a LA, Southern California, little bit of Bay Area expert. I try to stay in my lane and focus on the greatness that comes out of here. You know what I mean? And so as you hear me, you know, murder Adam 22 in that show, my energy and my perspective is to uplift all these artists from the West. That's all I really care about. That's my contribution. When I created mixtapes with Exhibit and Crondon, Feel the Agony, and Mitchie Slick, when I created these mixtapes, it was because these, other than Exhibit, these guys didn't get any light. They weren't getting any recognition, no opportunities. It was, how do we create a way for people to take notice? So we created this mixtape wave. There had never been any mixtapes in Los Angeles before this. And when we created this wave gave you Dom Kennedy. This wave gave you Nipsey Hussle. This wave gave you Problem. This wave gave you all these new artists. Now this is giving you Larry Junes and all, like, but in California and the West Coast, we didn't really have mixtapes as how the artists pushed their art and pushed it to the streets. That was an East Coast and down south thing. And so as you worked in labels, I did too. And all we did was take an element that we saw all the time being effective on the East and in the South and said, we have to figure out how to do it here. And we did it here, and we created, you know what I mean, a lane now in which all these artists can come out independently and put their shit out and get an opportunity. And so that's what I'm saying to No Jumper or anything, is that they don't do that. They don't provide anything other than short-term ignorant celebrity for these young men, other than trying to actually help them have viable careers. So, that's the difference, and that's Will Blast. Will Blast is here to help the coast. I'm not here to tear it down. So, once again, I appreciate you, Sly. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the
Always,
chat.
always,
Appreciate the
big
love,
bro.
man.
Always, always.
Like I said, hopefully we can do something else. You know what I mean? Do some more shit.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
We're
Like
gonna
I
keep
said,
riding this hip hop star on the West until we get you in front of Lord Jamar, because I would pay to see that. I would pay.
I love it, man. I love it. Anybody got plugs on Jamar? I can tap in with Jamar myself too, but you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to, sensationalize some shit, but I would love to KRS, all of them. We can debate this because I'm good with my dates.
Well,
And
that's the
I can
thing.
pull out.
I always see hip hop cats discuss this. I ain't never seen them invite anybody outside the five boroughs
No,
to have
no,
this
they won't.
discussion.
They won't have this discussion because it'll be someone like me that's going to shatter the narrative. And
Yeah.
if you shatter the narrative, they can't keep making the same money off the Bronx story like they've been doing. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm here for it. Lord Jamar, I'm looking for you. You know what I mean?
Yes, we
So
want
let's
to
do
see it.
it.
We want to
You know
make
what I
it
mean?
happen.
We're gonna make
Oh,
it happen.
OG, thank you for coming through and educating us as always. As always, I'm always humbled to be in your presence.
Likewise, brother. Appreciate you. Shout out to the Bay Area. Love for all the chat, man. Y'all have a good day.
Have a good one.
Peace.
Peace. Whee, that was fire. I'm gonna get some angry messages in about 20 minutes. Why you let him say that about us? But shout out to the big homie Will Blast. Do I come back with another show tonight? I don't know. But thank everybody that came through. Hopefully you got some out of it. With that being said, I'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good night. Peace.